Welcome, everybody. It is so good to have everybody here. I have been waiting for this day for like 2 weeks now. Ever since we finished on April 16th through the 18th, when we finished the Agbo 48-hour film festival, this is what I envisioned right after that. For me, it wasn't necessarily about first place, second place, or third place. It wasn't about win, lose, or draw. It truly had to do with being able to connect with, my fellow filmmakers, my fellow creators. So to have everybody on screen is pretty mind blowing and pretty awesome. So with that said, if we can, we're going to go around in clockwise order, and we're just going to go ahead and introduce ourselves. So your name, the name of your film, and your greatest creative influence outside of the Agbo or of the Russo brothers, Christopher Marquez and Stephen McFeely and Angela Russo-Otstot. So outside of them, who's your greatest creative inspiration?
Alrighty, I'm Colleen. My film is called The Status Quo, and my inspiration had to be Christopher Nolan, particularly watching The Dark Knight Rises, because that was kind of like that actual film that kind of started giving me that little film creative storyteller bug when that came out eons ago at this point. So
that's awesome. I guess I'm next in line. My name is Ricardo Acosta. My friends call me Ricky. And the name of my film is called This Is 4D. If you say it fast, it's This Is 40. We'll get into why later. And then I guess since I can't say Mr. Nolan, I'm going to go with Mr. Jon Favreau. I think his ability to do a bunch of things and be masterful at it is very inspiring, and he was in Friends.
My name's Caitlin. My friends call me Kate. And my film was called Life-ish, and I worked on it with my friend Marissa. And my greatest creative inspiration might be cliche, but probably John Hughes. I'm obsessed with John Hughes movies. Ferris Bueller's Day Off is probably one of my favorite movies of all time. And I just love the comedic styling and the breaking the fourth wall and stuff like that they do in their films. So that's probably mine.
Oh, I think Louis has something to say about Ferris Bueller's
Oh, no.
Day Off.
I was just giving a nice clap. Just a nice clap.
Louis, go ahead.
Okay, my name is Louis Gallagher. My film is Across the Uni-Reverse. And my greatest inspiration would have to be Jim Henson. I've got my Kermit the Frog jacket on right now, and I got my Muppets poster behind me.
Hey.
It's just the greatest film of all time is the Muppet movie. And if you disagree, you're wrong. I'm sorry.
Oh man. Brooks, try to top that one, and Marcel.
I don't know if we can. For two-parter, you go first. Well, Marcel Patterson here. Brooks. So I said you first. You did say me first, guys. Bear with us here. We were late. Sorry. Our film is called Time of Death, and I think my biggest creative inspiration is between Fincher and Peter Jackson.
Nice.
Yeah. That's it. That's all I got.
Brooks Leiby. I was the composer for Time of Death, and in that lens, I would say my draw for inspiration right now is between good old John Powell and Austin Wintory.
Nice. Can't wait to get into the score, by the way.
Dig in.
But Shank, you are next and final. Good sir.
Hi guys, my name is Shank Rai. My film is The Watch. I made that film with my friend Daniel Yanagetta and Alex DeBoard. I would say probably, at least for this film, my two inspirations were Edgar Wright and Taika Waititi. I think they're able to like really just take you out of your own life and put you in the characters. I just really like that. That's kind of why I like films in general.
Nice. Well, perfect. I think then we have a lot in common. We have a lot to talk about. I'm really, like I said, really excited. But how about this? Let's start off. with setting the scene. And the scene is it's 7:25 p.m., April 16th. And your palms are sweaty. I was gonna make an 8 Mile reference, but knees weak, arms are heavy. There's vomit on your sweater already, mom spaghetti. And so now it's 7:29 p.m. What happens when the clock hits 7:30? What's going through your mind as you hit refresh and then refresh again and you see the prompt? Like what'd you think of it? Was it something you liked? Colleen, I'll let you take it.
First of all, my first thought was get the coffee brewing because I know I was going to be up for a late night because I literally set up shop in my kitchen because that was where my most creative stuff is going to happen. Because if I do it in my bedroom, I would be too tempted to go to bed. But it was throwing me for a loop because it was so abstract. Like a lot recently, the last film I made was really in a documentary-esque and it was dealing with COVID-19 in particular. And so going through something abstract and trying to make it think of a thought that would just put it on paper before I can start, writing down and start brainstorming was just difficult on its own.
Let me ask you this. How long did it take you to get to where you finally were like, okay, let's execute this? Like
around 9:30, so about 2.5 hours, well, 2 hours, I would say.
Nice. That's a lot better than what I did. Speaking of time. So as far as like my experience was, I actually live streamed it, like that little reaction of just like what was going on at that moment. I was very excited when I saw the prompt because it's funny. It's just by coincidence, but on my Instagram, I had posted like a few photos a few days prior to the event. And I captioned it something like, "Oh, just practicing for the film festival." I was making like short films on the side, and the picture is me jumping out of like a wormhole. And so as soon as I saw the disruptive theme, I was like, "Dang it, I should have just waited." And so that was immediately my thought. But I was really excited about just bending, warping reality. I think that's sci-fi, I think for me is my favorite genre. So seeing that was very, very I was okay with it.
For me, I had a couple of friends on Zoom that were planning to help out with the ideas and stuff like that. So I think as soon as the prompt came out, we were on Zoom and we're like, all right, we got to get together. We got to write this down. We got to figure out stuff. And I think we had an idea by 9:30 and we were planning to film the next day. So it was a hectic night, but it was really exciting. And I saw all of your videos on there and I think I was on your live when the prompt was released. So that was fun, but
that's cool.
It was funny. But I thought it was so cool. I thought it was just in line for something that the Russo brothers could come out with. Like, it just kind of seemed like their voice within the prompt. So I thought that was really cool. And I was really excited to kind of because I've never done anything that in a short film like that bends reality or anything, or I've never done anything of that genre. So I was really excited to kind of take it on and talk with friends and try to see what we could come up with. So it was really exciting.
Yeah, my first thought was, I was like, what the hell am I going to do with this? I was like, I was reading the prompt over and over again. I was just like trying to like put it in my brain. I was just like, whoa, this is like, we're going to have to like mess with some things here. And then I called up on my friends who we all kind of like wrote it together. And I was like, okay, so here's the prompt, very easy, just, disrupt time. It's as simple as that. And so we started thinking and we just started to like be like, okay, what if we removed like this thing? Like our first thought was, what if we removed spoons? And there were no more spoons, but that obviously wasn't a good idea because we didn't go with that. But just kind of like trying to think of like weird ways to mess with different things. But it was a very fun prompt. I really enjoyed like brainstorming for it.
So I think Caitlin can attest because as far as I know, she's the only one that's also on the East Coast. But 7:30 for probably the rest of you guys was 10:30 at night for us. So I was
really quick. So I think the panel was majority East Coast /
Oh, really?
Midwest. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So
East side.
Yeah, that was dreadful, but it was like a fun sort of stress, you know.
yeah.
I really enjoyed staying up until 3 a.m, like hashing out a first. Like, I'm sure you guys can relate. We all shot on like a first draft basis, right? Like there was no time to really iron out any kinks.
Yep.
If there was anything we wanted to fix, we fixed it on set. So, but yeah, seeing the prompts for the first time, I was on the phone with my director at the time, and we just were on the phone for like 2.5 hours, just trying to figure out what we could do with, you know, warping reality, changing like physical space and everything. And it was really fun. I gotta be honest, I was expecting not that. Knowing the Russos, I think they had just come out with Sherry, and like they really heavily promoted Extraction late last year, right? That was last year.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, it's gonna be like action oriented, right? Like do something with action, but nope. And I love, yeah, lo and behold. But it was still a very much fun process either way. I would like 10 out of 10 do it again in a heartbeat.
I'll put some into that, but I was out of town, working a wedding.
Yeah.
Just like watching the sidelines, like, how's it going over there?
Our poor Brooks here was taken away by a wedding, but he actually was able to figure out the
I got back at like 2 a.m. and wiped and just, you know.
Yeah, he took our final cut. Was just like, he was like, Bach over here. Shostakovich, whatever that is. Yeah, fun process.
Nice. I'm liking it so far. Shank?
I got to tell you guys, it was so the thing was that it was actually my mom's birthday the day after. So you know, as soon as that prompt hit, I was like, okay, cool. All right, let me keep it in the back of my head. And so basically throughout Saturday, you know, bits and pieces, I was like trying to like write down like little notes and trying to figure out like, okay, like this would be good here, this would be good here, maybe like we could play around with this and whatnot. But majority of that Saturday was just, I mean, I was having calls back and forth with my cinematographer who wanted to help out with the project. And I feel like honestly the hardest part was that like once we had the idea, it was really casting. It was like, who can we kind of grab in within 24 hours to be, you know, willing to sort of come over, shoot this, spend the whole day, and just kind of like, you know, if we need ADR, if we need whatever it really is. And that's kind of what was going through my head, was more so like, I guess, the technical side and like the logistical side of getting the what I really wanted onto the screen.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, it was a very hectic time as soon as it hit 10:30.
No, and speaking to that, like the fact that, you know, all of us, I think when we saw it, you know, we're all getting on the phone, we're all collaborating, or we're trying to get like different viewpoints, because it was one of those prompts that just leaves you like, man, I could do something like, you know, multiversal. I can do something very minute. Something Luca did. He was in our panel earlier. Luca shot all of his in his room, in one room. But he was able to utilize it in a way where, you know, it fulfilled the prompt requirements, and he ended up going to like an ethereal type of place, or his subconscious. And so, yeah, the prompt was very interesting. I forgot to mention on mine. Yeah, I took a long time. So as soon as I got done off the phone with my friends for about 2 hours, we seriously like looked back at the wall, and everything was still like splattered there. Like we were just throwing stuff at the wall, like, okay, this. Next thing you know, at the end of the conversation, we didn't really condense it. So then, you know, fast forward a few hours, still nothing's like really coming together. And then boom, like in the middle of the night, well, no, that's actually the next day, but I come up with something, and I start shooting it, you know, in the morning the next day on Saturday. And I shot like a few things, and it just didn't feel right. It didn't feel right. And then boom, that night, Saturday going into Sunday, like it just all came together. It was literally like I was in bed all kind of mad and disappointed. I'm like, dang, I lost, or like I just this didn't go well. And literally like a movie, like I just got up from my bed and I was like, boom, here it is. And so the next day I took like a few things from, you know, the day prior into production for the next day, which was interesting. But I wanted to, you know, go a little bit into everybody's like process. So as far as like anything that like, I know it's a 48-hour film festival. It's something that's, you know, quick, like Marcel said, it's a first draft basis. Is there something like super different you did because it was a 48-hour film in comparison to other things you may have done in the past?
I think for me, I spent more time just compositing words at this point. I'm trying to think back because it feels like a blur at this point. Wow. I think the process that was really different is that I just had to take the idea and run with it. Like once I had this idea, I had to run with it.
Yeah.
And when I thought of the idea, I was still kind of not feeling it whatsoever. When I had my idea, like I got the idea, but I was not a fan of it. And so instead of like taking more time to really continue to hash out this idea, I just had to take my idea and just run with it, whether I liked it or not. And sometimes because I went with this idea, I actually turned out really enjoying the final product, even though I could make some changes if I look back to 2 weeks ago. But because I took that idea, turns out I just kind of hashed it out and just really enjoyed the final product, because you can only have so much spend so much time idea generating and brainstorming before you have to go ahead and go into filmmaking.
Did that happen to anybody else as far as like you ran with the idea? Did anybody have like not a better idea, but a different idea they wish they would have executed? Or did everybody walk away saying, okay, you know what? This was it. This was good. Kate?
It was funny for me because the idea that we came up with the first night wasn't the one we ended up executing. So we came up with an idea. We went out and shot. It was such a learning curve because I had never done any really film fest that was less than a week. So we were just trying to figure out everything. And I don't have many friends here who do film, so it was a lot of pulling friends to do different jobs, which was really fun, but it was also a learning process. But for us, we had the idea, we shot it the next day, and then that same night, we kind of looked back at the stuff and we were just like, we're just not really feeling it. And it was a fun day of shooting. We learned a lot, but at the end of the day, we just were not happy with it, and we weren't going to be not necessarily not proud of it, but not feeling our best about it. So the next morning we were going to go shoot something else for that same idea. And my friend Marissa and I were just sitting there and we were like, do you want to just make a new one? And so she and I came up with a new idea that morning, wrote the thing. She did like some of the special effects that we have in our video. And I was working on the shot list and stuff like that. So it was very stressful. And we ended up, executing that idea instead of the original one. So we ended up having less time because of our poor planning, but it was a fun time. It was a really fun time. And I think that we were both proud of the outcome that we produced. So
nice. Yeah, I think that's the most important part is when you walk away from it, like, are you proud, right? Are you proud that you invested, you know, the amount of time you did, and more than anything, the effort that you put into it? I think that's like where, for me, at least my meter of being able to gauge, you know, if I like my own stuff or not is, did I give it my all?
Yeah.
You know, something I was telling, you know, the panel earlier was that we all, you know, no matter win, lose or draw, first place, second place, third place, you know, we're all winning because we showed up, we showed out, whether we, you know, submitted it a few minutes late, a few hours late, you know, missed a couple of shots here and there. But I think the most important aspect to this entire thing truly lies within just trying, giving it some sort of effort. Louis, so I was going to ask, could you speak to like how like when I watch your film, like it has such a signature to it. So I was wondering, like, and I've seen some of your stuff. So I was wondering, did you have a signature? Do you have like consciously have like a signature when you make something, or is it just, you? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think, well, with this especially, I think is a bit of like, I think my personality coming through, but also all my friends. I think I try to make it very communal, like for everybody, like everyone who's in the movie, and there's another person who was running sound. But once the prompt came out, I was talking to all of them, and so we didn't write a script. I don't know if you guys did or not, but we just kind of got out all our story points. And so on the day, I was like throwing out the ideas for the lines and stuff. But then they're like, well, what about this? And I'm like, yeah, that sounds great. We'll try it. And I mean, yeah, I was like, I want to do something very simple, very grounded. Don't want to, give myself too much work in terms of editing. I like editing, but it might take too long. And then we ended up making a movie about an interdimensional being making all cars go backwards and have a backwards car race. So, yeah, I mean,
Epic.
it wasn't definitely down to the wire at the end there, for sure. There was a lot of little things that I was like, but then you just have to let it go and I mean, I was pretty proud of what the final product ended up being, even if there was like little things when I watch it back and I'm like, this and this, but I mean, you guys all know there must be a lot of different things in all of our stuff that we're just like, but at the end of the day, nobody really notices those little things. So,
yeah. So, Marcel and Brooks, you brought up earlier that, we're kind of on a rough draft basis. So I was wondering, because yours doesn't feel like a rough draft. So what exactly, like, did you necessarily, like, what do you think you could have done like a little better on, or why does it feel like a rough draft per se?
So I think it's tough because a lot of it falls onto how it was shot, and that's nothing on like who shot it. It's literally because we shot with two different locations. I don't know if you could really pick up, but my twin is in the movie, and he is actually serving in the military right now, and he's in tech school in Texas right now, and like all of the stuff he sent us came from his iPhone, and a lot of like we had a particular match cut that we wanted to sequence very particularly. It didn't come out exactly the way we wanted to, but I think it worked effectively enough. But I think as far as like where it feels to me at least like a first draft is like I could have thought of ways to implement him more if I wanted to, and to kind of involve him, make those match cuts feel more in sync. But
if you're talking about the match cut where your twin brother closes the laptop and you grab something, I think it came out perfect.
Okay.
I just want to say that.
Window in Logic.
Okay. Thank God. All right. Well,
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. And we're definitely going to get into everybody's individual film. But Shank, I wanted to ask you right now. You just said that basically Saturday you had stuff going on. So when did you shoot this?
Yeah, so it was more so a 12-hour thing. Sunday morning, because Saturday we things just didn't work out. So Sunday, we woke up pretty early, got to the location and basically laid everything out. And we were just like, all right, well, this next 12 hours is just going to be nonstop, and sort of going back to what Louis said, it's like there's some things you just kind of have to let go. And, you can't be too nitpicky as much as you want because there's a time constraint. So, thankfully we got everything, because the majority of my film was just in one location, bar like the sort of like the last like 20-30 seconds. So, a lot of that was just making sure that we had everything sort of prepped up and ready. So we had a camera on a tripod just ready to go in case we needed to get some shots on there. We had, a slider just basically ready. And a lot of it was just me going back and forth with my cinematographer, Alex DeBoard, and just, kind of like navigating. Because again, like I kind of had the whole film in my head, but sort of the hardest part, honestly, was the time of it being, what was it, like 3 minutes?
Yeah.
I believe. Yeah. So, trying to fit all that into 3 minutes, because I had it in my head, but it was like, was it going to fit in 3 minutes? But at the end of the day, I just kind of had like stopping points, and I was like, all right, by this time we need to be done with this scene. By this time we need to be done with this. By this time we need to start editing. Given enough time for the actual visual effects and like kind of color correcting and whatnot. So a lot of it was just hitting the mark, like, stopping right then and there, like, all right, we can't go anymore with this scene. Like, whatever we have, let's move on to the next. So yeah, Sunday was just honestly, I would do it again. Like it was a blast. Like it was so much fun, just like, going back and forth. The actor was great. He did a great job. He was super flexible with basically whatever we really asked him to do. And yeah, I mean that was kind of the gist of how my Sunday went, and basically the whole 12 hours of that.
The Agbo 12-hour no sleep till we get this done fest. No, that's crazy. Yeah. The cool thing is like everybody, even inherently, we're gonna make different films depending where you are in the world, right? Something, that you think about is, for y'all, when this whole thing started, you had no sunlight, right? Me and Louis on this coast had sun out still. So it's pretty cool to see like how, we end up developing the films kind of dependent on our situation, a mom's birthday the next day. So that's something. With that said, I wanted to now give everybody like individually like the floor to like really just talk about your film, what it's about, what it means to you. Are there certain things that like you feel maybe you couldn't get across that you'd like to clarify now, or maybe your film is exactly how you want it to be interpreted? And Colleen, we're going to start with you.
I love and hate starting first. I know I get out of the way, but I was like, oh, I got to think on the fly. But basically, a lot of my film is basically just questioning how, because COVID affected me a lot in a way that I didn't think. It basically made me rethink a lot of my life choices of where I'm at right now, and basically reminding myself I'm getting too comfortable where I'm at, where I want to like continue to grow, and I'm not allowing myself to grow. And basically, I was not giving myself the time to actually do that, because I'm just putting myself through a nonstop routine of work, eat, sleep, repeat. It's basically questioning that whole construct of like, why do we put ourselves through a routine that sometimes we just don't like? And then what I wish I could have done better is timing out and planning out the dance sequence I had in that last little bit, because the only way I could get it, because I live with my grandparents to save money, and I was quarantining upstairs just to protect them because they're in their 80s. And the only way I can get this particular shot, it has to be dead of night. So it's like filming at like 3:00 on Saturday, not Saturday, Sunday. And basically I had no time on my side because the sun was rising pretty quick. And I was very rusty with dance because I was trying to do it in point shoes. I had ballet point shoes that I could have done the sequence in, but just did not. Basically my legs were shot, and I was going to realize how out of shape I was, and basically not, and I didn't want to injure myself because my grandparents were sleeping downstairs, because I know myself well, and I'm going to injure myself somehow while doing this film. And so I had to pivot and go into jazz shoes and just reteach myself how to choreograph a little bit, because it's been so long. And it was also just interesting to get the mini stairs, because I shot outside of my house, outside the apartment, and I'm just sitting on the top of my car as my ending shot, and just casually people just staring. For the occasional car would just watch me as I'm just chilling on top of my car, like admiring this random tree. So, but the hardest part, I believe, just making this film is the voiceover, because that was something I had to edit on the fly. I tried to do it in one shot, and I had to basically make a glorified blanket fort just to make my own little sound booth because I just record on a little task cam. But and that was probably the longest and hardest part about editing the entire film. But it was overall fun. I would honestly would do this all over again.
Nice. Now, and by the way,
Okay.
you're like your ability with the pen is like very, very, very masterful because I've watched it a few times now, and each time it's more impactful. It's more it resonates each time more and more and more. I wanted to talk about the one woman band you have behind this. I know during Agbo, one of the stories I saw was actually yours, and it was you with the tripod I think in the backyard or something.
Yeah, in the backyard.
And so I wanted to ask, like, are you pretty used to shooting, directing, writing, all
Yeah.
filming?
Pretty much. A lot of my friends, like when I went to school, a lot of my friends were like, teaching or in the nonprofit sector or just different areas. And so I didn't have a lot of people who I could rely on. And I could have my grandparents help me, but it's going to be a point where it's just going to be longer for them to learn how to man a camera. And I'm rather protective of my equipment because I am the sole investor of my art. And so, but when I was shooting that story, I was literally in a tree about to shoot that backyard sequence when I was climbing down the tree or I'm jumping off the tree is when I was taking that picture.
No, well, I'll tell you this, like you're staging, you're blocking, doing
Yep.
it all by yourself. Like it really shows on screen, and like it really comes across as like, we're right there with you. Like we're on this journey with what your words are, narrating. So yeah, that I really enjoyed your film. I wanted to open the floor to anybody. Does anybody have any like questions or comments about, her film? I know I have a few things. And it's okay. I'll go first. So, how long did it take you to write your the would you call it a monologue? Would you call it a poem? Would you call it a narration?
I'll call it narration. I wrote it in the script form and the natural script format.
Oh, okay.
Is how I wrote it. Because that was also when I was taking time to like figure out locations and types of shots. So I was doing I was doing the writing process while I was doing when I was making a shot list and picking out, how I want to do this type of shot or how I want to do where I want to shoot this location, go where I want to take my equipment and go shoot.
Nice.
I wanted to ask, so you are obviously, as Ricardo said before, acting in this and directing, doing everything. As someone who has done a tiny bit of that before, I'm very like, when I watch myself back in the edit, I'm like, oh, this is terrible. I need to redo this part. Or like, how are you like with editing yourself, your performance, and like watching your performance back? Like, how is that whole process for you? And are you super picky about your performance?
A little bit. I did theater in high school, and so I was able to translate some of that into filmmaking a little bit. But I just at the same, and it's just the idea of just letting go, because I know I'm going to be my worst critic at the end of the day, and just so I just remind myself that I'm basically, and that was the word I used throughout the entire weekend was striving. I'm striving to make something that I'm just going to be proud of at the end of the day, and regardless of how I was looked. And regardless of how it's going to come out, I'm going to be proud because I put something out. If anything, the hardest thing for me was because I am the director. I'm like constantly, I'm trying not look at the camera because I want to make sure my shot is correct. And so I have to trust that I know my shot. I know how to compose a shot in a way that I was going to go look back and be proud of the shot and later put in the film.
I wanted to read, I believe it's the last line, and it's my favorite like line from the movie easily, and I love how it coincides with the color shift, with the saturation of everything. It says, nothing can stop you, not time, not your thoughts or society, There's only one word that's in between you and living your life to the fullest and disrupting the status quo, and that word is yes. And I'm telling you, I rewatch it just to get to that part. That's why I rewatch it, because I love getting to that part, because it's that culmination point to where you're like, I went on this journey, and now, just like the film, I saturate, like I turn into color. So
Yeah.
so that's awesome. Definitely. One more thing I wanted to add was this deserves a huge round of applause on top of everything you've done. But Colleen had 6 coffees, 6 30-ounce waters,
Yes.
7 Coca-Colas, and 10 total hours of sleep. So
I remember it's sleep, because those are horizontal breaks, because it's just no sleep.
True. Blocked.
Yeah, that is sleep. They're called horizontal breaks.
Oh, that's a good one. Oh man, well, that's awesome. That perfectly transitions us to a very saturated, awesome film, and that is by Caitlin. Kate, your film Life-ish. I'm gonna, like I said, you have the floor right now. Give a little, background, and are there any things that you want people to know about it? What does it mean to you?
Yeah. So we sat down and that morning and we're just kind of talking, and our original idea for the film that we didn't end up doing was super complex and super kind of difficult to put on camera. So we kind of decided that we wanted to do something more simplistic. So the story kind of follows a person as if they were in a video game, as if life was a video game, and you're making different decisions throughout the day, as if you are in this game and you have to like press buttons to choose different things. And so we kind of had an idea for a story. We weren't really sure at first where we wanted to go with it. And we had a couple different sequences that would be funny. We were like, oh, that would be funny if she was riding a skateboard and had like the almost like video game coins, like she was picking up along the way. And so we had a lot of fun ideas bouncing around, and we ended up coming up with what we had. And the editing was the hardest part, and I owe it all to Marissa Caputo, the friend that I worked with on it. She is an editing whiz. She was working on all the special effects and stuff like that, and was able to bring to life kind of what we had in our heads. But as far as the story goes, it was just a really fun, lighthearted thing, and I think that's what she and I do best, is like the kind of lighthearted kind of comedy, not necessarily comedy, but just more of the lighthearted type of film. But I don't know, we were just really excited to do it, and we were really excited to kind of work with the camera work and kind of see how the special effects would work with that. So we had to kind of practice with getting a still shot and then getting a shot of the action happening, which was kind of an interesting tactic to practice because I had never done anything like that before. But it was helpful to have Marissa around because she was able to say where she needed the shot to be able to edit it to where the effect would work and would look good in post. There weren't too many things that we didn't get to include. We were going to do a sequence of the coins where she was like riding, like all that intense scene where she like pans up and you see her face and she starts riding the skateboard down. We were going to have like a Mario kind of coins sequence, but didn't end up being able to edit that. But I think we were both pretty proud of how it turned out, and I was excited about it. So it was fun.
Nice. Yeah. As soon as the film starts for me, it's completely like it hits on the video game easily. Yeah. The first 5 seconds, I counted, first 5 seconds is the loading screen, right? Mm-hmm. And so to be honest, like it's probably my favorite intro, of all the films, because I didn't expect that. I could have seen some sort of video game integration, but that whole being able to kind of choose, what's going to happen next. Mm-hmm. Wow. It was a fun film. Like I had a lot of fun watching it because like, mentally I was like, press. Yeah. So if a film can make me do that's one of my favorites. So I wanted to open the floor for anybody. If you've been able to see it, do you have any questions, comments, not concern, but questions or comments? I know I do.
But... Welcome.
Yeah, I had a quick question. So I know you said that Marissa was your name. She was on set as well and kind of helping you sort of compose the shots. Did you guys sort of go into it knowing like what kind of effects you guys wanted to use, or was it more so like you were like, okay, like this would be cool now, so like let's try this, and then like kind of coming up with it as you guys went, or did you guys have those kind of things sort of pre-planned?
It was a little bit of both. So we actually did have, I was working on the shot list as she was working on kind of the intro and the special effects, so we could have that ready. So we had a lot of it written down. We weren't sure if we were going to be able to execute it all, but we did have a lot of it written down. We had, it was interesting because the stuff we wrote down ended up being something completely different. Like, I don't know if you remember the skateboard scene where it kind of like pops up under her feet. But we had a different idea in mind where we were going to have the skateboard falling down and like hitting her on the head and like having the dizzy birds around it. But then we were like, that's kind of more cartoonish and not video games. So we ended up just doing the shot underneath her feet the way it was. And I was like hanging. It was funny. Someone said they were in a tree filming a shot. I was also in a tree filming a shot. Yep. So it was funny you said that, Colleen, but I was hanging over a tree in the Dunkin' Donuts parking lot taking a shot of her. But yeah, we had most of it planned out, but a lot of it was in post as well. So that was fun.
Yeah, I really like enjoyed, again, going back to, go ahead, Brooks.
Oh, great.
I talk a lot. Sometimes I gotta be
the host, talk. No, I can read. I just wanted to throw appreciation points because the 8-bit style, the animation and that was a lot of fun. That was like a highlight region of this whole thing. Of all the films I've seen, I'm like, that's really cool. Good stuff.
Thank you. That's Marissa. She's incredible. Yeah, but thank you.
Marissa.
Shout out Marissa. Shout out Kate and Marissa. I loved how the overlay, I thought this was really clever, but I loved how the overlay, all the graphics played as the narrator. Mm-hmm. So with Colleen's, it's her voice guiding us through this. With yours, it was an inanimate object, which was, like I said, it was very, very clever. Really, and again, it had this vibe to it that spoke video game, and I thought you really, really hit the dot with that. So, I have more questions if anybody wants to jump in.
Yeah, I mean, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, you go ahead. You can go ahead.
Okay. Well, I mean, I was just going to say this because I just went to the movie theater for the first time in the year last night, and I saw Scott Pilgrim in theaters, and I was going to say, I kind of akin to that movie is that it's a very, you're very, sorry, I can't speak sometimes, but you were able to really capture, just like everybody has said, just reiterating that video game quality, just like Scott Pilgrim does, and so I wanted to commend you and Marissa, right?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Did you pull from any other type of video games while you were generating this idea? Because when that part where your actor was falling off the skateboard, it had the coins fall out. I literally thought of Sonic the Hedgehog after he got by Dr. Robotnik's little droids and stuff.
Yeah. So we did draw a little inspiration from Sonic for the coins, and we. Originally, our idea was to do kind of a decades thing where it would be they were in each decade of video games. So like one would be Pac-Man, one would be something else, but we didn't end up being able to do that. But yeah, we did draw inspiration from different video games. The coins were the funniest part for us to watch back. But and it was so funny. She I don't know if you could see it, but she edited this little rock that popped up that actually made her fall off the skateboard. So a lot of that was from video game inspiration, like Super Mario Bros, stuff like that. So yeah, we definitely did draw a little inspiration from that.
Quick question: what's your favorite video game?
Oh, Galaga. I love Galaga. My dad and I play that all the time.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Well, in the midst of your finals month, in the midst of graduating, I just want to say congratulations. The film was awesome. And round of applause, please.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Louis, let's talk about your movie. Let's get into it. I want to hear all about it.
Yeah. So then we were there online on Discord at around 8 o'clock, and my friend Danny Bird, he was like, "What if everyone can drive forward like normal, but one guy only drives in reverse?" And I was like, "I raise you this: what if everyone drives in reverse except for this one guy?" And then we were like, "Okay, that would be really cool. Maybe hard to do, but it'd be really funny if we were able to do it right." So then we just started thinking about it and such. And so the whole concept is basically that intergalactic space wizard has come down and he has made every car only go in reverse and brainwashed everyone into thinking that cars only go into reverse. But this one guy, he knows of the real world that cars go forward because his brain is his skull is so strong because he drinks so much milk. So that's, it's very, very silly. I mean, some of my favorite movies are just very silly. Obviously the Muppet movie, Gremlins 2 are big inspirations. So things that just don't take like it too seriously. Like, it's a movie, like there is a suspension of disbelief. And so hopefully like people, when you're watching it, you don't turn it off because you're like, this would never happen. But it was a lot of fun to make, and it was more of just like a test. As I'm sure everyone can relate to this. It's like I'm sitting here during COVID. I want to make movies like for the rest of my life, but I'm not making a movie right now. But I have all the time in the world to make a movie. But like I need someone to be like, hey, make a movie right now. And then I check my phone. The Russos are like, make a movie. I'm like, heck yeah. Okay, let's go. So it was a lot of fun. And my friends, some of them, we all were theater kids in high school, and now we're out of high school. But so they're all like off doing their own things after that. But it's nice to kind of bring everyone together and be like, okay, now we're going to make a movie. This will be a fun day. And so if not anything else, even if the movie, it was horrible, it was still a good day, and a good second day editing. So that's it. It was fun.
I think that could speak to all of us, which is we've had all of quarantine to make all types of stuff, but it takes someone or something, an event, to just get you, push you into doing it. And there's no shame in that. I would love if every day I could wake up and there's a new challenge, there's a new thing. But going back to your intro, you were saying you hope people don't click away. I promise you they will not click away, because the Tarantino-esque, Casey Neistat-esque, like punchy jump cuts with the milk pouring, boom, I'm in. Like, sign me up. I'm ready to go down whatever this is going to happen. So as far as people leaving, I don't think that's too much of an issue.
Good.
The other thing I wanted to say was going back to what I said earlier about having this signature, right? And I feel that you have, sprinkles of whatever that may be, whatever Louis Gallagher, possesses. Like, I've watched some of your other films, and they're very like, again, a Louis Gallagher classic. Like,
well, thank you.
So, and I was wondering, do you even see that? Do you feel that? Did you consciously develop that? Or is that just something that like comes out of you?
Not really. To be honest with you, like in terms of like visual style, I don't think I can take any credit for it. It's really just a hodgepodge of everything that I like. And the beginning, that opening shot, we shot that the next day because I was like, well, we got to show him drinking milk. Let's just show him drinking really fast. And I was like, we'll do like a Tarantino, Edgar Wright kind of boom, boom, boom.
Yep.
But it's just really just, I'm like, well, I like when things look like this and feel like this. So I'll just try to do my own version of how, this feels. In the end of the day, if I'm proud of it and I'm like, okay, then I succeed. Okay, like, if nobody else likes it, that's okay. But as long as I'm like, okay, I'm proud of this, and then I can move on and do something else.
That's exactly what I told what I tell my mom all the time, which is so long as like I am okay with what, the end result was, I'll let the world decide what they want how they want to,
Yeah,
interpret it
exactly.
or accept it. But as long as, you can feel like, okay, this is something I enjoy personally, then you can move on. You get that closure. I don't know if anybody else feels that way, but I like getting closure from any like creative project.
Yeah, for sure.
Really quick, does anybody have any questions for Louis or any comments?
Yeah, I'll ask. Since you did such like a creative idea where you had to kind of figure out different types of camera angles to make it work, what was the hardest part you thought about shooting that style of film?
I think the hardest part really was probably the last scene, which is the car like race, mainly because I was like, hopefully everyone will be able to see everything in the dark. I wanted it to film it like right at dusk, but then obviously that's like not that much time, and then eventually it's going to be dark. So I was like, I got one light because we were in the middle of a high school parking lot, and I couldn't bring my lights because there's no outlets. So I had one light on my camera, and then I was just like, we're gonna have to just put this in different places and just figure it out in the cars, and so that was really difficult. And also because it was starting to get late and everyone was getting really hungry, wanted to get food and tired. And I could really tell, I mean, I was also getting really hungry and tired. And so we were just trying to go. And I think definitely I would have, if I were to like go back and tell myself something at the beginning of the weekend, I'd be like, make a really detailed shot list specifically for that scene, because I had ideas drawn out for that part, but it didn't. I needed more of them. So that was probably the hardest.
Yeah. It's cool.
I swear to you, I thought this when I saw it, but when your main character gets out of the car, when he finally confronts the space wizard, when he gets out of the car and he moves into frame, or like to, closer to the camera, I swear to you that you put a light on top of him, right? Like to act as a headlight.
Yeah.
I swear to you, it worked. So it paid off is what I'm trying to get across.
Well, thank you very much.
Because I was like, the attention to detail for something like that can sometimes, go over a lot of people's head, for whatever reason, but especially during like a 48-hour film competition. That's something you're like, I forgot, right?
Yeah.
So kudos to that. And I can't wait to watch it again right now. Oh, by the way, I wanted to also ask the actor that plays the main character. Is that like a best friend of yours? Because I've seen him in a few of your videos.
Well, yes. If you watch basically anything that I have ever made, he's probably in it, because we just hang out all the time and we're like, well, we'll make something together right now. I pretty much just work with the same people, especially right now, because I mean, this is my freshman year of college and everything's online. So I don't know that many other people that are like, I can just be like, oh, come over and we'll make a movie. But yeah, that's Danny Bird, and he's a great guy. He's a great guy.
Shout out to Danny Bird. I know my friend has these friends that he introduced me as far as like their work, and their name is Noah Davenport and Ashton Harold. They're film students at Chapman, but they reminded me a lot of your because they basically star or have some sort of handprint on each other's work at all times. So if that's anywhere near the direction you're going, I seriously can't wait to see that forever thing. So awesome. Brooks and Marcel.
Hi. I just wanted to say one quick thing about Across the Universe. Your actors are all phenomenal. We just we have a second monitor and we just watched it on mute again, and for whatever reason, the zaniness of the Space Wizard absolutely kills me. I want to see more of him. Make a spin-off of the Space Wizard, please.
That's Connor, and we knew that he's perfect to play any sort of character like that, and we knew going in that we needed to have him playing a villain that was very strange, and so Space Wizard was right up his alley, I think. So I'll pass along the compliment.
Absolutely hilarious when you put it into reverse. Space Wizard is gone. Oh man. Well, thank you, Louis. That was a treat. Seriously awesome and see backstory, right? The whole milk thing. That's what I love about being able to talk to everybody about their film is we learn things that we didn't necessarily maybe get to find out or know, firsthand. So with that said, please, a round of applause for Louis.
Thank you.
So now we move along to Brooks and Marcel. Go ahead. Let us know what your film is about. I have a lot of things I want to talk about.
So, like I mentioned before, up till 3 a.m., just making the first draft. It's very, very conceptual, which I'm sure is not a unique statement among this panel to discuss. But essentially, we didn't want to waste any time with any exposition or finding out where our characters are coming from, just more or less where they're going. It's about a guy who loses his twin brother because, and this is not far removed from reality, but his twin is just very depressed. We kind of just imply it. He's sort of just takes his life in the military because he's alone. So this guy, was his name? Isaiah? Yeah, Isaiah. My character comes across a briefcase, more or less, that allows you to place objects inside of it, and it allows the chronology or the time of the object to be manipulated. So place a written letter into the briefcase, it comes back out and there's nothing written on it. So he eventually gets a hold of the gun that his twin uses to end his life and is well, if I can reverse time on this gun, will that undo my brother's fate, so to speak? And yeah, that's more or less where we wanted to go. We didn't, like I said, we didn't want to waste any time on exposition. Where did this case come from? We wanted to just show what it does, and the title, Time of Death. So it was there was some things that we wanted to come across in the film that we couldn't due to the 3-minute time restraint. So the time of death was supposed to be the time on our birth certificate. So he could only bring things back at the time that they were done or completed. So if I can put the gun in the briefcase at 12:05, so to speak, I can bring him back at 12:06. But due to the 3-minute time restraint, we couldn't really get that across. But I don't really think it affected anything.
It's planted in there.
It's planted, yeah.
You remember the time on our birth certificate?
Yeah.
I'm gonna just close out of Facebook.
Yeah, it was really fun to shoot because we were worried that we had to do it shoot over 2 days, but because our batteries were dying on our task cam. We were worried about lighting because we were in a new apartment that the curtains were the light was shining through the curtains, and we wanted to convey a dark time when the gun is brought up. So a lot of obstacles came up. Still a very fun process, and thankfully our composer Brooks came through at what time did you say you got back?
It was 2 a.m.
2 a.m. and you got cracking as soon as you got home. We had our rough cut
in my inbox.
Yeah.
Before I even
Yeah. So,
got home.
and mind you, Brooks had just shot a wedding for however many hours.
It's like 12 hours.
12 hours. And then how long was the drive back home?
2.5. But that aside, the like I have really huge like just sketch sessions on on things, and that's pretty much what the score for the film ended up being, more or less. So as a sketch session, I open up Logic, I throw a piano on, and I just start to get some basic chords, and I found accidentally this melody that just recurs on like a loop. It's almost like that concept of time. And if I had more of that great word to put into this thing to make that concept a little bit more complex, developing that into something. The time interpolation is always really cool to play with, especially in music. But that melody, that really simple, it was like a 3-note melody. That to me, I think was my favorite discovery. But other than that, finding weird synths and just dropping those that MIDI information on it, and playing a little bit with how the volume plays at certain scenes. I mean, I don't think they had time to mix it in. I don't know if that was
No.
So most of what you hear is the time attention that I had to put in with Logic.
Yeah.
Next time.
Yeah.
I think my director, speaking on like sound design or like mixing, like the effects or the sound effect used to convey that the suitcase
this was cool.
Yeah. The effects or like sound bite, whatever, that my director used to convey that the suitcase was working and like sending things back through time is simply just a stock sound of a dog barking, and he just like drug it out and like manipulated a lot of
nice.
So, and I just thought that was like the coolest thing ever. Like,
I love that type of stuff. That's so
cool. He told me that, I was like, because I think I even asked him, I was like, what is that? What is that? I like it a lot.
He's like, oh, it's just a dog.
That's neat.
I wanted to comment on the score really quick. So I don't know if this was intentional or not, but for me, like the way I was receiving the score, the 3 keys, they felt like literal waves. Like it felt like a wave that was pushing us towards this resolution, whether the resolution ends up being good or bad, but it was pushing us there. And again, I don't know if that was intentional or not, but like it felt very, very akin to, again, the whole time concept. Like it was just, I don't know. I really, really super enjoyed it. I wish I had your skills.
It just takes time.
Time.
Somebody say time.
But that concept initially wasn't, or at all.
The greenstone.
At all. There you go. Yeah. It wasn't at all intentional, but I mean, that's why I love music, because you can take, what's given to you and whatever that expression is to you, that's what makes it music. And that's why I love film score, because, you're telling a story with it emotionally. And, the fact that you get that wave effect of it just being, propelled, rolled to this conclusion, that's really cool to hear, because that means I may have done my job well.
Oh, yeah.
For sure, without a doubt.
Thank you.
I don't think this is too much of a stretch, but our film, I don't think, lands the catharsis we were intending if it wasn't for the score, in my opinion. Anyway.
Brooks, that was a compliment, just FYI.
That was a compliment.
I don't know. I'm just obviously, as you can tell, I'm not great with compliments. At times, like, Brooks, you're really great. I will leave.
No, that's awesome. Another thing I wanted to point out was when I was watching, or I had to watch the film, I think I finally caught it, I think on the 3rd time of the film, but it was the fact that Marcel wasn't playing 2 characters. I thought it was a twin within just the story. I didn't know that Marcel had an actual twin outside of the movie.
There's a 3rd one.
Yes, they're at.
Wait, triplets?
Yeah, no. We were actually. Was that something we were going for or hoping for? Either way,
I don't know.
it's very, very fun for people to realize that I have a twin. It's funny because he's actually more of the actor. He only joined the military because people were telling him not to be. So he's got a really big itch to get back into acting. Like, I just wanted to involve him somehow. So, like, it was nice to be in a project with him again. I kind of like took on some sort of missing acting for him. Like, I figured while he's serving, I'll act for him, and if he still wants to act, he'll take all my credits. He can put it in his reel. I don't okay.
That's so cool. Oh man, I wish I had a twin.
But yeah, no. You think I could grow a mustache in 48 hours? No, I didn't.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know what sorcery they used, if they used a space wizard, I don't know, but like I was just like, hey, this is pretty cool. And you know what's cool too is something you said earlier about how your brother was using Zoom, right? Or not Zoom, a laptop, right? The webcam.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah.
And you guys were using, whatever equipment you were using. I thought it fit the story perfectly. Like, I thought it was hitting the marks that it needed to hit by doing that. Without that, it would have I don't know. It felt perfect how it ended up. So definitely kudos to that. Let your director know.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
We'll.
Which, by the way, our director's name is Michael DeGiorgio Jr.
Yes.
He's not here with us because he has children.
Yeah, he's actually somebody that we used to work for, or I work for still at our college that we go to.
I flew the nest.
Yeah, he flew away, but yeah, he's we very much are in collaboration with him. He's a good guy. He'll
Nice.
Appreciate the
And
compliment.
Justin Whitaker.
Yeah, our sound guy Justin Whitaker. He's got a lot of experience too that I should fill you in on later. But he was our sound guy. He not on set too much, but he did amazing.
Nice.
Yeah.
Really quick, anybody else have any questions or comments? If not,
I have a quick question in terms of composing for a film. I just think that's the coolest thing because I'm not a musician myself. I can pluck a few strings on the guitar, but I can't. It's amazing to me how people just can see things and translate that into music form. So what is I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this. You kind of explained it a little bit, but more into your creative process for how that actually goes down for you and how you're able to kind of look at a film and be able to decide what music is going to go to it. Because I think that's so cool.
I get a lot of imposter syndrome because I don't have a lot of music theory knowledge, but, and Marcel can attest to this, I mainly only listen to film scores. So,
and video games.
And video game scores, because it's pretty much in the same caliber nowadays. But I basically call myself like a sponge. Yeah, I listen to so much. I feel like as I'm listening to certain things, I watch a picture without music, and after reading the script first, talking to the director, there's a lot of communication that has to go into it too. But I think the best way to answer your question is in the early stages of this, there's a thing called a plotting session. And that is literally going through the plot of the story and marking where, certain music happens, the ins and outs. It's called needle drops, and the overall emotion of the scene. And that's generally all someone would need in like the film composer realm. There are references that the director could have for the more artistic side of it, like say they want a full orchestral or they want a pure synth sound. That's technically the easy side. Once you get into how it's all built up, it's only through emotion. And with me, it's mainly just through sound. I have friends who know a lot more about music than I do, and they can actually tell you what chord they're playing and what this correlates with this emotion, or minor versus major, which is pretty much all I know. Major key for happiness, minor key for sadness. It's like, yeah.
That's
I
awesome.
hope that answered your question.
Oh, that's great. That's awesome.
Cool.
Yeah, with that said, great job. Seriously. It is a treat. If you haven't already watched it, make sure you watch it. It is awesome. So congratulations, and everybody please a round of applause.
Namaste, Dojo.
That transitions us to the coolest named person I now know. Shank. That is, first of all, we need to that is the coolest name. I am just pumped. But let's go ahead and talk about your film, The Watch.
Yep. Actually wearing it right now. Just
a cameo.
Little cameo. Had to make it on here. But yeah, so like I kind of explained a little bit before, Saturday was essentially just making calls and writing stuff down on my notes. I had sort of an outline of the script. I didn't really get to actually writing it until like pretty late on Saturday night. So I'm really thankful for my friends actually being, even able to like sort of like stay up and like kind of read through it and be like, okay, no, this is cool. This is cool. Maybe you should change this a little bit. Which happened a lot on the actual production. But I sent the script out because I had two friends that wanted to do a voiceover, and I needed a couple voiceover for that. So I sent them out some, and I kind of gave them a little bit of like, I just gave them some sort of directions as to like what I was really looking for, and just prayed for the best that they would come in on time, like the day after. And so, on Sunday when it was actually the day of production, things usually like, don't go smoothly, but this was definitely one of the smoothest. The inspiration really comes from, well, I guess I should say like, I get a lot of inspiration from just like places that I go to and like different things that I see. And I thought the prompt was just so like perfect for that, because I had a place, it was like this big open field at the end of my film. I really wanted to shoot something there, and I've had that in the back of my head for, a week or two. So, that's kind of how I started actually like thinking about the plot. Was I wanted someone there and I wanted something to happen, and I wanted the film to end on sort of a bang. So, I put Daniel Yanageta, who is the main lead. I wanted him to be in the middle of the field and, looking up and sort of like an asteroid, like hailing down towards the earth. That's how I wanted to end the film. I knew that for a fact. The hard part was kind of getting to that point. So, I sort of, looked around my room and try to think of some sort of item that would sort of like help me get from that point to that point, which was really difficult. But, I kind of settled on a watch and kind of gave it the sort of idea of like, maybe we can use it as like a time traveling device, but, maybe we'll give it in the hands of someone that literally is just incompetent and can't really like use it towards its benefits really. So that's kind of how I started it out. And, on the day of the actual production, when we were shooting it, we were still spitting some ideas back and forth as to like how to fill out some of the gaps, as to like, okay, like, initially I wanted it to be a popcorn instead of like a little bowl of rice, but we decided to settle on the rice because we didn't have popcorn. And, it was a lot of time constraints and just trying to fit everything into that sort of schedule on Sunday. But I'm super happy with how it turned out. I think it was a lot of fun. Really big shout out to Alex DeBoard, who was my cinematographer. And we kind of divided out that sort of work where, after shooting it all, I wanted him to just straight away go to post and like start working on that meteor. I think that was like the big emphasis that I really needed him for, to like really hammer down. And I think he did a great job. I mean, dude's a whiz. So shout out to Alex. But, he started working on that, and I started sort of making the initial cuts and the timing of everything, and, trimming down the fat, getting all that out. And, kind of like Marcel and Brooks, like I didn't want there to be too much exposition, but I needed it, to have a reason as to like why he's there. And so just trying to incorporate a bunch of different elements and try to squeeze it in that 3 minutes. It was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun watching it. I can tell you that. It was especially like the presentation of it for me was very, very like appetizing, like from the thumbnail or from the movie poster, from, you know, the color grade, from, you know, little, you know, the sliding shot at the beginning, right? You're right. Shout out to your cinematographer, the whip pan. It was a very, very cool thing. And then when God's voice starts to starts to play, I started just cracking up. It was really, really good. Did you like, going back to your point about, you kind of worked around something you wanted to do, meaning like you built around something you set out. So that was having a scene in that field. Is that like, would you say that's the origination then of like the whole, everything surrounding that?
For sure. I mean, like, I just love the outdoors kind of like so a lot of my inspiration for a lot of things, whether it be like music videos or short films, like I try to like, I just have like one sort of shot in my head and I try to build a story around there. So that was definitely the origin point for the watch, was, you know, having someone out there and staring up into the sky. And I think it's a great location because it's like this big grassy field, and like, you know, you have these trees in the background, and just right above it you just have clear skies. And I thought like before like even shooting it or before even planning it, I just thought it was a cinematic location to begin with. And, you know, I'd like leave like little marks as to like, you know, oh, this would be a cinematic location, this would be kind of dope to shoot something around, and try to, you know, wedge around that. But that's kind of like the process of like one of the processes that I go through whenever I want to make something.
If you don't mind me asking, what were you filming on? Was it were you
It was
filming?
a Sony A7, and my cinematographer was using a Rokinon 35.
Okay, cool.
So we were using that, and then I think we had maybe like one or maybe two. That's the exact one. We actually had the E mount, so we had to use a adapter, and so yep, we had to use an adapter, and I think we used a 15 to 70 Zeiss for one wide shot towards the end. But yeah, we, with whatever we had, we just kind of wanted to use as much of the equipment that we had at our disposal.
Yeah. Well, and the reason why I brought up the equipment was because I felt it was very very pertinent to the ingratiation to the story. Like, at least for me, like I felt that the color grade, that the feel of the film was in line with the way it was shot, with you know, the different, you know, directions you went. So yeah, I just wanted to shout that out because it really boosted the film even more for me.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
I wanted to ask anybody if anybody has a question about the watch or a comment.
I have a question. That meteor, how he do that?
That would be a question for Alex, honestly. So he's
was it real?
He does a lot. I mean, I wish it was real. It wasn't really in the budget, but you know, we kind of had to wedge it in there. But he does a lot of work on Blender, and he loves After Effects. Like, I mean, so we used to be coworkers at that marketing job, and you know, I would go in and check on him, and he'd literally be like editing photos on After Effects, and I'd be like, bro, what are you doing? He's just like, I'm just so comfortable with that, and I'm like, all right, man. I mean, if it works, it works. So he's just been using that, and he's honestly great at it. So you know, without him, I mean, you know, that storyline honestly wouldn't have even been possible. It would probably been like a paper ball or something more practical than that.
Yeah, the meteor at the end for me, like it was just like the icing on the cake. Like, but the way you were able to leverage that with the levity of like the character being like, oh hell no, I'm out of here. Like I thought was so perfect. Oh man.
Yeah. I mean, like if I could just add one more thing. I mean, like,
yeah,
because it was like essentially 12 hours of just basically doing the entire thing. It got to about like really close to when like the deadline was. And the film was just processing, and like at that time we were just like, okay, we have like, honestly, like we would have like maybe like 20, it was like 20 minutes left. And I noticed, like, I was like, we should probably add a little bit more like sound in it too. So we're going back and forth between looking at like it processing, and also like maybe we should make some changes. But at the end it was just like, it is what it is. So I'm just really happy with how it was. And we did take some time to actually do sound design and all of that to make sure like the meteor sounded right, and some of the different noises as well.
Nice. Yeah, no, and likening it to what I was telling Louis, like there's this signature that's definitely present in a lot of your films. I've gone back to watch a few of your films, and it's definitely like a shank production. So that's pretty cool. I strive to again have like something like that, because it's hard to, not hard, but it just takes a little bit of time to really develop that. You got already like 4 film reels under you, which is awesome. So so yeah, just a round of applause for Shank's movie, The Watch.
Thank you, guys.
I just wanted to say real quick, like, speaking on signatures, was it like a choice of yours, or did you just luck out? Because I really love just the colors, like the way brown just like absorbs every frame of this. Like, I'm a huge fan, because typically when it comes to like time altering subject matter, people often think of like greens or blues or like neon colors. Big fan of the deviation to brown. Like, awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, to sort of go back, like we kind of based everything around the ending scene, and because it was such an open field, and it was just very green and blue. I wanted it to be more so like engulfed in a different color, like a reddish, maybe brownish, like you said. And that's just because like I thought like that's like what it should change out to be from like the original like sort of like indoor settings that we had. So definitely hammering down on the color was important to me. And we kind of worked off of the ending scene for that. And then I mean that again goes back to like the sort of like style that you were saying, Ricardo. It's I mean, I feel like it's more so like everyone has like an identity, and like it's more so like I feel like film does like such a great job of like helping you sort of like, even if you don't know it yet, like it's helping you sort of craft towards it, and like you're able to learn a little bit more about yourself as you make more and more films, and you kind of like appreciate the art as well as who you are.
Yeah, most definitely. And that's what I'm, every day I'm trying to just carve out. I was telling my friends earlier that I'm actually, I would consider myself a beginner filmmaker, narrative style filmmaker. I was I'm more used to content creation or business videography. But actual narrative storytelling is my life's goal, right? That's where I want to end up. And so carving that out every single day, that's why when I see signatures across someone's film, I'm just like, that is awesome, because that's what I strive to get to. And so continue doing that. I look forward to your next film. And like I said, oh, by the way, I had one question. Was there any significance to 11:20, the time on the clock?
Honestly, no, there really
Okay.
there really wasn't. We were just trying to figure out, because I mean it was like a little Alexa thing. So we wanted it to be more so like in the morning, and so we were changing it to different time zones, and like we were already running short on time. So I was like, all right, just put it to Pacific. We need to work on Pacific time anyway, so might as well put it on there, and it did the job.
Cool. I heard it from the director's mouth. That's all I needed to hear. But I wanted to really talk about things that we can leave, like a trail of resources, a pool of advice for future filmmakers, no matter what age, no matter the circumstance. What did you learn from this weekend, or what would you leave for, that future filmmaker that wants to do this? Kate, let's go ahead and start with you.
Yeah. Kind of have to think on the spot here, but I guess my common theme with advice I would give to other filmmakers and to myself that I try to take in is just to work with what you have. A lot of times there's not, like, you're looking at other things and you don't necessarily have the gear, you don't necessarily have the team, you don't necessarily have all this stuff, but it's important to realize that all you really need is that idea in your head, and you can eventually try to find resources around you to kind of make that work. You can use your friends around you, and it might end up being a more fun experience than if you had a crew by using your friends. So I would definitely say that it's just really important to understand that right where you're at is okay, and to not compare yourself or your path to other filmmakers. And it's awesome to take inspiration from other filmmakers. That's not what I'm saying, but just in terms of timeline wise and kind of what you're having to work with, it's important to kind of take what you got, make with what you have, and just do your best, because that's all you can ever do. So
Nice. Well, thank you, Kate, for that. Yeah, no, it's definitely the comparing, your situation to someone else's is it's a trap that a lot of people fall into, including myself.
Mhm.
But I think, being able to just, stay in your lane and make sure that the only thing you're comparing yourself to, if you're going to choose to compare, is your past self. Are you better than you were yesterday? Did
Right.
you do something today that made you better for tomorrow? So yeah, I think that's really good advice. That was actually mine. Thanks for taking it. Colleen, I want to come back to you and ask you, what do you have to say to like anybody thinking about doing a 48-hour film fest or just a short film in general?
Just do it, just flat out do it. And because regardless of where you're at, kind of picking back off of what Caitlin was saying, the goal of making a film is that you're growing in some way. Because when you look back at your past film, you can see how far you grow. And when you're making this new film, you get to see the progress you made. And so, regardless of where you're at, just knowing that you're just striving for excellence, regardless of where you're at in your filmmaking journey, is what should be the concentration, regardless if there's going to be a prize or anything. At the end of the day, when the prize itself is just growing and just knowing at the end of the day you made an excellent film.
Definitely. The just do it series. Someone just asked me the other day, what advice would you give to start a YouTube channel? And that was the exact same advice that I relayed, because the fact that you get up and you decide to participate makes the whole entire difference. You never know too, is like you never know when one of those days that you decide to actually do that thing, it might end up turning out to be something like really, really spectacular. They may not all be, but you never know what day you're going to wake up on and you're going to come up with the next whatever it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you, Colleen. Thank you for that. Louis?
Yeah, I think my advice for people would be, if at all possible, work collaboratively. Just personally, I love bouncing ideas off other people and just really trying to get like a group like cohesion of an idea, rather than just like, you might think that like your idea is like the best and it's really good, and it very well may be, but I promise, like, bringing in some other people and getting some other ideas, even if they're like combating your idea and they're like, well, maybe it would work better like this, you might have to let go a little bit of what like you're holding on to with the idea, but it might be for the better. And like, don't be afraid to try out different things if it's not in your comfort zone. Like for me with this film, like it was definitely out of my comfort zone for anything I've ever done, and it ended up being like a really fun, like, even if like whatever happens, like as I said before, it was just like really fun to experiment. And for my next short film, I'll have kind of the skills and what I've learned here, or if anything that I didn't think was up to par or whatever, for the next time it will be, and then it's just a cycle of that, So yeah,
definitely. Yeah, the whole concept of like, and I've learned this throughout the years, which is yes men, yes women, yes people. It feels good, right? Because you're getting told, yeah, it's awesome, but sometimes a little pushback, a little constructive pushback, can make make a world of a difference and really push your project or your creative endeavor to that next level. So definitely everybody heed collaboration, openness to being able to pivot is crucial, especially in filmmaking and storytelling. And so yeah, thank you, Louis. Thank you for that. Yeah. Brooks and Marcel, I want to see what y'all think.
I want to piggyback on what Katie said, which was find what you work best in. Yeah, and also stay in your lane. I like that as well. That's something that I had to do because, where I went to school and all my friends, I was the one person that wanted to make movies for the longest time until I got to undergrad. Then I started to make other friends, and they're like, "Oh, well, what do you like to do?" And I'm like, "Well, I shoot, edit. I'm starting to make music, but yeah." And getting to a point to where I have done all these projects. My background's mainly as a cinematographer, but you realize sometimes really late. I mean, I'm 23, but that there is one thing that you're really, really good at, and it's great to be a multi-tool because you can step in if you need to, but it's also really good to have that one thing that you're great at or that you really love, and figuring out that it's music. You get to really see yourself develop then, and you save your work, you get to progress and evolve, and I think that's just agreeing with what Katie said for the most part. Just find what you're good at, stick with it, and you'll see yourself
flourish,
excel. Yeah.
I guess my sound advice would be to don't be intimidated by the limitations of a contest or like a prompt, because I've found anyway that that's where a lot of the most creativity comes from. That allows you to problem solve a lot, and I think that's where the most interesting films come from anyway, because like a lot of times when you have an open slate, it can be too daunting. And it's fun to do exactly whatever you want, but to be able to take something that should, challenge you and like come out from it on top, I think that's like, again, a victory in itself. So, yeah.
Yeah. That whole thing about getting pushed into doing something is something I always I'm open to. I love when things like this come up because it makes you do it versus when you're just by yourself. So Shank, do you have advice as cool as your name?
Let's hope so. I mean, I would just honestly say that, I just enjoy the whole process, like the experience of actually being out there and, whether it be the highs, the lows, whenever a shot messes up, whenever you're running out of time, just enjoy it all. Just because, I mean, like if you're truly serious about becoming a filmmaker and, that's what you want to do, it's important that you take time to really, don't think too far ahead. Honestly, it's try to live in the moment and try to just enjoy where you are. Especially directors, if you want to be a director, definitely try to give a hand in sort of every single position, because I mean it's important for you to sort of understand how different areas of filmmaking work. So once you have that sort of expertise, once you do really enjoy what you're doing, that'll help you sort of I feel like that'll be the best teacher, really, is your own experience of being on set and enjoying the people around you, the shots around you.
No, that's enjoying what you do. I think I've said this 10 times already, but it makes the difference. One I don't know if anybody saw, but there was a video I put out right before the contest a few days prior, and it had to do with the 10 reasons why I think you should join this film fest. And the reason why I put it out was because I really wanted to give people reasons to join. I think moments and events like these are what can propel you into, your potential career in this, arena. Speaking for myself, I know that I'll go to the grave with this, but I always think that if I would have had, and this is to no fault of anybody, but just if I would have realized or seen that this whole industry, this whole, storytelling is something you can do for a living, and it's not just a pipe dream, it's not just, this, that, and the fourth. I really think that I could have started a little sooner. So one of my missions and one of my goals, and that's why we're also here, is to trim that fat for anybody that might go through what I went through or what anybody else might go through. And so why not start leading that path for them and getting them there a little quicker so they can really start their vision, so they can give the world their vision. The other thing I wanted to say was, one of the things that this whole film fest, and I think I've said this previously, but one of the biggest thing, as far as I'm concerned, that this film fest was able to accomplish was this right here, bringing us together, having us talk about our stories, talk about our processes, talk about like all the things that went on, because win, lose, or draw, first place, second place, third place, no place, this is what's going to live on, right? And this right here, what we're developing here, this friendship, this small circle family, like it's gonna be such an awesome thing to look back on in 1 year, in 10 years. So with that, I really want to say, like, thank you to each and every one of you for being up to the task to do this, because this is by far like the highlight of my year. I'm sweating. So seriously, thank you. And truly, just, I really hope that we can continue this bond and this friendship that we're developing, because one of the things I was telling the other panel was that you hear these stories all the time in Hollywood and stuff about how do the Russo brothers have a connection with Steven Soderbergh? How did this person know that person? And you always hear these stories about, they were, comedians especially. This comedian did stand up with this other comedian at, this really janky place. And so this right here, in my opinion, is what a lot of people are going to be able to reference, 10 years from now, when it's like, how did Louis get Brooks on that score? Like, how did Shank and Caitlin go co-director on this, and Colleen and Ricardo, you know what I mean? So I just think that this is something to be very proud about, and it's a very humbling experience to be able to share it with all of you. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you.
Hold up. Before you say that, can I just, because you've been calling for round of applause all night, can we just get a round of applause for the man, Ricardo himself?
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. I'm like Brooks. I'm kind of like, oh no, I don't know what to do. But seriously, I do this. I do this for the people. Seriously, I do this for the culture. One of the main bases of Filmtopia, my YouTube channel, is that it's not a me thing, it's a we thing. And so I carry that over to this, and I try to carry it over to everything I do. I think the way forward is together. So with that said, again, thank you so much. We're gonna go ahead and wrap it up here. So thank you, everybody.
Does anybody, I don't know if you wanted to wrap with this either. This is totally your call, but like, does anybody have any future projects lined up that they want to share?
True.
Sounds
I've
awesome.
got a little project I'm working on for I don't know if any of you guys, I talked to Marcel about this briefly, but Campus Movie Fest. I don't know if you guys have heard about that, but I have done not a lot, like 2 short films for that competition, which is like a week-long span. So I'm working on another one right now that I'm gonna actually submit right after this. So yeah, that'll be fun. But that's what I've got going on.
Sweet. Best of luck with that.
Thank you.
Like the wise Kate Coate said, when you're creative, no day is the same. And that is so true. It speaks, volumes, and you got this. I can't wait to see whatever it is you're working on.
Thank you. Thanks.
Awesome.
Marcel and I are just talking about how we're going to frame those words.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good motto to live by. I like it.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
By the way, go check out her Create short film. It's got all types of gems. I actually have like a bunch here, but I limited it to 1.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I would love to do this again. We should definitely again continue this bond, and yeah, so we'll see where we go from here.
Yeah.
By the way,
Sounds
let's
great.
the way we ended the last one, which was kind of cool, is we end this one too. We just all yell into the camera, team no sleep.
Oh, cool.
On 3, all right?
Okay.
All right. 3. Oh no. 1, 2, 3. Team no sleep.
Team no sleep.
And actually, so this is something I brought up to the panel before, and I don't know, it's something to mull over, but I've been thinking about this for a while, and there might be a reason why I have this shirt on. But what do you all think of obviously continuing, what we have here, but thinking of some way to put together like a collective or a fellowship or a team of, I don't know, maybe we'd call ourselves the Film Vengers or something. I don't know.
Yes.
You have my sword.
I just envision us one day in LA somewhere, and one of us says assemble, and we're all there. So I just wanted to throw that out there. I got the domain, I got the username, just making sure I want to, that's it.